The point of marriage is not happiness. One of the points of marriage is, number one, closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number two, through that, growth. The point of marriage is growth, right? And happiness has very little to do with your life circumstances, and it has much more to do with the way you think about your life circumstances. And that's why I said the social media thing, right? Were you complaining that that your spouse didn't make you breakfast in bed, or that your wife doesn't have a gourmet meal waiting for you when you come home from work? Were you thinking about that complaint before you saw it on somebody's social media account? No. You weren't, right? And so our circumstances have very little to do with our happiness and much more to do with our mindset, right? So marriage is a test just like any other test. And so for some of us, there's going to be ease. For some of us, there's going to be hardship. But for pretty much everybody, it's a mix of both, right? And, it's that combination in being able to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the good and being able to work toward change for the things that are not so good, right? And so, we place this emphasis on finding the right spouse who's going to make me happy, who's going to be my second half. Number one, you have to be whole before you get married. Like, there's nobody who's going to fulfill that second half thing. And so your happiness, your responsibility, right? And so, that's one of the misconceptions that is important to address. The other, my deen will improve if I get married, right? I'll become more religious, I'll become more practicing once I get married, right? Marriage can make you a better Muslim, right? Like if you have, it's natural that if you have somebody who is also pushing toward that same goal, that you will grow together, inshallah. But if you need to improve your connection to Allah, if you need to improve your worship, your ibadah of Him, waiting for somebody else to do that for you is not going to work, right? If you're not waking up for Fajr and you're like, oh, my husband or my wife is going to be the one that's going to wake me up for Fajr, I can't wait until that happens, then, you're in for a little bit of a disaster with that, because this is something that's within your control right now. If you're not doing what you need to do to take control over a change that you want to make now, what makes you think somebody's going to be able to do that for you? This has to be something that you do for yourself. And it's really important that if you have a goal, don't wait for it for marriage. That's something that you can work on for yourself as well. Another misconception is that people think, I'll be more confident once I'm married. Again, self-esteem is your responsibility. It's something you need to work on your own. Like, yes, somebody who treats you well, somebody who treats you kindly will make you feel good, but it doesn't necessarily change the way you view yourself. That's something that you need to work on your own, because our capacity to love and to see the good in others is also included in, it also is somewhat dependent on our capacity to see good in ourselves, right? And so when we're accepting of ourselves, when we're growing ourselves, then we can see that in other people as well. And it can also breed a sense of animosity and jealousy and things like that if we don't have that, if we're not working on that. So ask yourself, do I tend to see the clouds or the sunshine, right? Like, my mindset is going to impact what I focus on, not just on myself, but on my spouse. If there is a tendency for you to see the negatives in people around you, that will happen in marriage, and a spouse is not going to change that. That's something that you have to work on for yourself, right? That mindset shift of being able to scan the world for good. And that's going to be a very positive and impactful for you in your marriage as well, to start practicing that. Start practicing seeing the good.